fucking ads. These mobile game ads are the most deceiving thing ever, by the way. You know the funny thing about this? You know those mobile game ads that we just showed? That isn't even the real game. The real game is a grindy RPG game. Like, they're putting these fake games and not getting it taken down by it. Ooh, it's on Unreal. That's pretty good. Oh, this is 2019. Okay. There's probably some more new ones as well. But we'll go watch that later. Damn, the graphics look pretty sick. I gotta be careful with this, given No Man's Sky. If you guys remember No Man's Sky, where they promised all this shit. It was pretty good. Dinosaurs, fuck yeah. Dude, I gotta hold my breath. This looks like Final Fantasy, where they have like a really, really good cinematic, but they don't show like in-game play and stuff like that. Two seconds, guys. He's solely funding it? Okay. That's pretty good, actually. Okay, now we gotta see... Oh, yeah, that's right. So the Lazy Peon isn't alright, yeah.
Have you ever wanted to command your own ship, traverse the infinite depths of space, combat fearsome fire?
With the recent news of Amazon's New World being delayed until 2021 and many hungry MMO fans being disappointed by this news, I decided that today I want to talk about the upcoming MMORPG that I personally believe to be the most promising, Ashes of Creation. Before we jump into it though, this video has no sponsor and took me a crazy amount of time to make, both with research, fact-checking and editing. So if you'd like to support my work for free, this game has an affiliate program that everyone who makes an account has access to. My link to this can be found in the description below, and all sign-ups to Ashes of Creation before September receive a small in-game statue for your house to commemorate our struggles through COVID-19. So for those of you that have never heard of the game before, what is Ashes of Creation?
He's not sponsored, but he's got an affiliate link.
Sandpark MMORPG that's focused on a strong mix of both PvP and PvE content. This game was initially kickstarted 3 years ago, but was already fully funded to completion via private investment from the game's creative director, Steven Sharif. Unlike many of the Eastern MMOs that have had Western releases over the past few years, Ashes of Creation has consistently said from day one that there will be no pay to win in this game. Due to this, the game will operate with a no box cost subscription fee business model with a cosmetic only cash shop. The thing that makes Ashes of Creation the MMORPG that I'm personally the most excited for is the sheer scope of the project. This game seems to be combining all the best aspects from all the top MMOs over the past 10 years and combining it into one game, with all of that being tied together by the game's most unique feature, its node system.
Okay, yeah, what is it?
Throughout the world in Ashes of Creation, there's points of interest on the map called nodes. These nodes are basically areas that can progress to different stages of civilizational development as players kill monsters, quest, gather, and adventure within that node's area.
So it's basically WoW, some like what is
when the game first launches, the world will be pretty empty. But let's say you and a group of friends all decide to kill mobs and gather in a certain area. Over time, you'll be contributing XP to that area's node, and an expedition will appear with quests. As more players are drawn to that area, it will level up into an encampment with more quests, more NPCs, and...
I'm gonna say here, this could lead to fucking mindless grinding, okay? Hopefully it's not that bad, but it could lead to like mindless grinding, then you got quests and more mindless grinding. Like, gives me an idea of like Age of Conan, okay? Like, gives me vibes of that. And if you guys are wondering like how bad Age of Conan was, like basically Age of Conan. I'll tell you that now. Like it was good at start, but once you hit level 20, gone to the 30 zones, it was literally kill bandits, hand in, kill bandits, hand in, kill bandits, hand in, kill bandits, hand in, and you literally did this cycle over and over and over and over again just to level to the final level. And you had a few quests in between, like here and there, but it was literally like grind quests non-stop.
And more opportunities.
This is why I'm getting worried about
After
that.
the node levels up into a village, town, city, and finally a giant sprawling metropolis with more opportunity, world events, and quests appearing at each stage of development. Now that's a very simplified explanation of the Ashes of Creation node system, but on top of that there's also a lot of variables within this system. For example, at launch there will be 103 different possible node locations, and the location of that node dictates the quests and world events triggered upon development. At this point you're probably thinking, well, what happens when every node reaches its final stage? Will it become boring? Well, due to how the system's designed, this isn't possible. In leveling up one node, you lock out the possibility for adjacent nodes to grow to the same size. To change this and de-level a node so that adjacent nodes can progress, players will need to participate in a PvP node siege to destroy a city, for example, so the town node near to it has room to grow and different content can then be unlocked. The way this system is designed intends for long-term player-driven replayability, where each server will have a different history of development and unlocked content. No two servers will be the same. An MMORPG with a true ever-changing world. When it comes to node aesthetics, there will also...
This is what I get concerned about, where two servers will not be the same, and you're trying to drive like PvE content. Like that balance team could be very fucking good on making sure that, you know, certain PvE things or quests or rewards are unlocked by unlocking a certain node, and it's not optimized. Like this will become optimized really, really quickly, where they will have servers where they test things out, and then have another server, like, you know, they're all on another server testing things out as well to make sure they get the optimal nodes for raiding. So, you know, this might, like, you know, require like a server-wide community effort, which is doable.
A lot of diversity here too, as the node will take on the architectural appearance of the race that contributed the most XP to its development. So let's say a guild of orcs went to an area and contributed the most XP to a node, building it up to a town. You've then got a town with an orcish aesthetic. Maybe a guild of dwarves wanted to explore a node in the mountains. They could eventually have their own dwarven city in the mountains. The aesthetic of the node changes at every level of development based on the race that contributes the most XP to the node. On top of all this, each node in the world will be assigned one of 4 possible node types, with each having unique benefits.
I was going to say, if it's going to be all unique.
Economic, militaristic, and scientific node types. Advancing a scientific node over an economic node, for example, will give different building options for players to manage in the node, such as libraries, colleges, and artisan buildings, whereas if they leveled up an economic node, they could build markets, stock exchanges, and trade-focused buildings. Each node, upon hitting the village stage of development, will have a cooldown before node elections begin. In this, players can try to become the mayor of the node. As a mayor, you get to allocate resources, set and initiate quests to advance the node, as well as choose building projects.
This sounds really bad.
The way the mayoral election system is designed is different for each node type. For scientific nodes, it's a popularity contest where you vote another player in. For economic nodes, it goes to the highest bidder. For divine nodes, the player with the most node-related service quests completed will become the mayor, and militaristic node mayors will be decided via a last-man-standing battle royale type game where players interface to a champion rather than their own character. Obviously, bad mayors will be a thing that exists in this game, so every month the election process will happen again so that other players have the chance to challenge the mayor.
I can see so much creeping with like 100% tax.
Aiming to have a diverse range of content to appeal to pretty much every type of MMORPG player. Let's start with some of the PvP content that will be present in this game. PvP content in Ashes consists of open world flagging, caravan PvP, duels, battlegrounds, castle sieges, node sieges, arenas, and guild wars. But before all of you PvE players get scared off at the thought of open world PvP, you'll be happy to know that this game has anti-grief mechanics in the form of its corruption system. When it comes to corruption, players have 3 states: green, non-combatant; purple, combatant; Red, corrupted. I've displayed an image on screen that shows how this system works, but from the point of view of a non-combatant PvE player minding their own business, if another player comes up to you and kills you, they will become corrupted and receive ever-growing penalties the more innocent players they decide to kill. Eventually, corrupted players can drop their items which can be looted by other players, they'll also lose more experience upon death, and also feel dampening in PvP so they become weaker. Corruption gained is also greater based on the level disparity, so a high level randomly killing a new low level player really isn't worth it. Additionally, the game will have a bounty system where players with high corruption score will appear on the map for bounty hunters to track down and kill.
Taking from WoW.
And NPC guards will also attack corrupted players on site, limiting their access to services within nodes. The Caravan PvP system in Ashes is designed to bring risk versus reward gameplay. Due to storage being localized to each node and different areas of the map having easier or harder access to certain resources, players will need to transport goods between nodes via caravans. When a caravan is spawned, it will create a moving open world PvP zone. When players approach the caravan, they'll be given 3 options: attack, defend, or ignore. Caravans can transport goods from more than one player at a time, and I can imagine this system alone will bring about the existence of mercenary guilds who attack caravans or defend them when paid by other players. Castle Sieges will be a monthly event in which guilds can fight in a 250 vs 250 battle.
That's gonna lag.
Control of one of the 5 castles in the world.
Gonna say that's gonna lag.
Sieges are different to castle sieges and are the catalyst for change in the world. Node sieges can last up to 2 hours. If a node is successfully defended, it can't be attacked for a certain period of time in relation to the level of that node. A village, for example, can't be attacked for under 20 days,
30, 40,
whilst
50
Metropolis cannot be attacked for 50 days if successfully defended. Additionally, once a node siege is declared, there's a period of time where many services in the node are shut down in preparation for war. For a village siege, there's 2 days notice, and for Metropolis, there's 5 days notice. These node sieges can only be declared within a certain period of the server's prime time to give everyone a chance to attend. If a node siege is successful, the node is reset to 0, and players with resources stored in that node will lose some of those resources, and real space player housing will also be destroyed. Guild Wars are a separate PvP system in Ashes of Creation which basically allows guilds to declare war on each other and receive certain objectives to meet a victory condition. This system isn't fully fleshed out as of making this video.
Yeah, I can imagine it'll be hard to flesh out.
In-depth version of what Black Desert Online currently has, with objective-based components mixed into it too. Guilds can be at war against multiple other guilds at the same time, and Guild Wars operate outside of the game's corruption PvP flagging system. I think duels, battlegrounds and arenas are fairly self-explanatory features that Ashes of Creation will have that we all like to see in MMOs, but overall when it comes to the PvP content this game will have, it sounds like everything I've ever wanted in an MMO, from the risk versus reward of the caravan system, to node sieges being the catalyst for change in the world, to the prestige of your guild owning one of the 5
this
castles
guy's
on the
really trying to
server.
sell his
It seems
affiliate
like
link.
this game has PvP content for everyone from casual to hardcore and everything in between. PvE content will play a massive role in Ashes of Creation and features content in the form of quests, open world dungeons, instanced dungeons, open world raids, instanced raids, world bosses and monster coin events, as well as all the activities related to the growth of nodes. PvE dungeon and raid content in Ashes will be designed for group sizes of
basically
8 to
FF14
16
as far as I know.
and 40 players. This game will feature a mix of both open world dungeons and raids, as well as instanced dungeons and raids, with 80% of them being open
20%
world
instanced
and
and 80%
20%
open
of
world,
them
shit.
being instanced. There will be no group finder in this game, so you'll need to join guilds and find party members via social interaction if you want to partake in a lot of PvE content. The way open world dungeons and raids will work is that they increase in difficulty the deeper you venture inside. At the entrance you might be fighting weaker, lower level mobs with fewer mechanics, but but as you get deeper into the dungeon you'll fight tougher enemies with more mechanics and better loot. Additionally, something you need to bear in mind is that all of the PvE content that's available in Ashes depends on the location of the nodes that the community decides to develop. One server may have access to completely different raids and dungeons to another server, purely because their nodes developed differently in different locations. So unlike other MMORPGs, the endgame PvE content really isn't a linear progression. It can't be a linear progression because different raids and dungeons will be locked or unlocked depending on where...
Dude, all I'm gonna say is, how the fuck are they gonna balance this all? Like, that's gonna be the fucking big point. Like, how are you gonna balance it all? Like, you can't have a world first kind of thing on this thing, like where WoW's really hyped it up on that. Like, where are you gonna sell the esports aspect? Like, that's the big thing. Like you gotta sell this game. Like, this game's it's got a wonderful experience and free playability. But dude, like, how are you gonna sell it for esports? That's the biggest issue. Is like, I don't expect people to sub and then people get good gear and stop for a bit. Like, what happens? Like, this is where the Diablo 3 problem runs into it. It's like that people aren't going to grind for a 0.01% upgrade. Like, they'll play a few Castle Sieges in. They'll be like, oh, I can just quit for a bit. Can't be siege for 50 days and that's it. Like, it seems very slow paced. And I think it's going to suffer the same treatment as Age of Conan, where people are just going to be like, okay, let's go back to WoW, basically.
Where nodes are developed and what stage they're at. So in a way, it could also be in a PvE player's best interest to participate in a PvP node siege to reset the node that unlocks a certain raid.
And all I'm going to say is, people don't PvE. Some PvEs don't like the PvP, and some PvPs don't like the PvE.
So that another node can then be developed which unlocks a different raid. A fun, unique piece of PvE content that I think a lot of people will enjoy in Ashes is its monster coin system. This is an event that either spawns randomly or following the advancement of a node, in which a horde of NPC monsters will spawn and attack the node. During this time, players can use an item called a monster coin, which they can receive as a rare drop in-game, to turn into a monster and assist the NPCs in attacking the node against other players. During a monster coin event, the node can't be destroyed, but buildings, services and NPCs can be disabled for a period of time. Quests in Ashes of Creation are divided up into 3 categories: events, tasks, and narrative quests. Okay. Events are things that happen in Ashes as a result of the development of the world. Successfully
just checking everything else, guys.
Will have positive consequences such as buffs, and failing events will have negative consequences such as natural disasters or node services being unavailable for a period of time. Tasks are quests without excessive amounts of
Okay, guys, I'm gonna probably watch this tomorrow, something like that. But my opinions on it so far, they got a lot of issues, to really flesh out about this game. They got a lot of issues they got to flesh out. I'm gonna say, the balance system as well. At the end of the day, WoW's got a kind of a decent esports system with, its raids, world first content, stuff like that. And, with the game being super, super different, I don't feel like there's gonna be a world thing to it. I've got to say as well, they've got to have a lot of people playing this, and this is where a lot of MMORPGs run into this issue, and WoW's run into this issue again. WoW's recognized run into the issue that the reason why Group Finder exists is because servers die because people stop playing it, either because it's not fun, or it's repetitive, or it's essentially repetitive, or they just don't have the time anymore. And this MMORPG really, needs its community to survive. They go, with mercenary guilds and stuff like that. I play a game called, used to play a game called Star Wars Combine, which you essentially need, all these other things to do stuff. And if someone goes inactive, then basically that service is no longer available to people and admins had to intervene. And now I'm thinking, let's just say there's no mercenaries to protect caravans and stuff like that. And it just means that caravans are going to be safe to travel into different destinations. There's going to be no one doing the world PvP events. And, there's going to be, potentially a lack of players to really run the system at its optimal capacity of what these people hope it wishes to achieve. And that's the biggest worry for this game, is that they're reliant on having so many people And that's why WoW like recognized that issue where servers only had like 5 or 6 guilds that were decent, and that's it. And if you couldn't make any of their raid times, then it was good grief. We couldn't make any dungeon times. Like the server wasn't really good for you. That's why they made looking for dungeon, because they recognized that a lot of these, even though they sacrificed the server population, like the group fight and stuff like that, for it, like the server community values, they realized that the game would grow stale if someone rolled on a dead server. And if they did introduce the transfer fees, be like, if you can transfer to this live server for $25, everyone would be like, they're reaching for dosh and they're trying to steal your money, that kind of thing. And they might just, quit anyway, instead of offering a free system like, looking for dungeon. And a lot of people hate looking for dungeon. Like, I understand that. Be like, or no server community, you can be a dickhead to whatever you want. But it's there for an actual reason to keep the gameplay flowing and to keep everyone happy and to introduce everyone else to more players, essentially, without having to level up a alt on your server. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for today. I'm going to go to bed. Thank you guys for tuning in for the Mythic Bosses today. And thanks for giving me that video as well to take a real look at about this MMORPG being, Ashes of Creation. I may test it out, I definitely may test it out, but, that's going to be it for